Been playing around lately with the Tract Optics 4 to 12 by 40 AO scope here. And if you're not familiar with Tract Optics, you might be familiar with Nikon. Now, Nikon quit making optics, scopes rather, quite a few years ago. But Tract Optics is some guys that used to work for Nikon. They started their own company. Now, today we're going to look at the features on this 22 Fire. And I've got some questions as to, silhouette matches. Will this hang with scopes I've used in the past for 22 silhouette matches? Before we get to all that, though, I do have a question for you out there. When you're looking for a scope, in particular, a magnified optic, what are some of the features? What are some of the things that you like to look for? Hit me up down in the comments below. Let me know. I'll tell you one of my pet peeves or perks a little later in the video. Now, this 22 Fire scope is a 2-piece 1-inch tube. Want to keep that in mind when you're looking for scope rings. You're going to need 1-inch rings for that. The glass in this thing, it is multi-coated, and so that's going to aid in light transmission for low light situations and things like that. As far as weight, it comes in right at about 16 ounces. And overall length end to end, roughly about 14 inches. Now, the magnification on this thing, as I said earlier, 4 to 12 power on your magnification. It's got a really nice, smooth magnification adjustment ring right here. And this thing is also a second focal plane scope. And what that means is your reticle inside, we'll talk about that reticle in a second. The reticle inside is going to remain static. With second focal plane, as you turn up the magnification, your reticle stays the same. With first focal plane, that reticle would increase in size. It would magnify just as everything else does. Now, let's be in the 4 to 12 by 40 AO. AO standing for adjustable objective. And we've got a 40 millimeter down here. It also adjusts just as smooth as that magnification ring. And this is an extended focal range, they say. Anywhere from 10 meter all the way out to 300 meter, with graduations, several distances in between there. And so this is going to allow you to get, that perfect focus in combination with good light transmission to really get a good picture through the glass. We can't talk about the focus on the objective without talking about the focus on the eyepiece. And yes, again, really smooth adjustment with the diopter or the eyepiece here. To fine tune and hone in the sharpness and the clarity with what you're seeing. The eye relief on this thing, about 3.5 inches or so, which is pretty darn good. Now, I mentioned the reticle earlier, and sadly, I can't give you a live shot through here for that reticle, but Tract calls this the T-Plex dot reticle, and you're going to have on either side in the bottom a really thick post. You're going to have a 1/10 of an inch, very thin crosshair. And the cross-section point of those crosshairs, the dot, Tract Optics says that is 1/4 of an inch at 50 yards on 12 power magnification. And why does that matter? Well, if you're shooting at bullseye-style targets, match grade, match type targets, then that's going to give you a fairly precise area to fill up the center X-ring or bullseye. Now, for a 22 scope, the 22 Fire here has some pretty cool turrets. We're going to talk about those. First of all, you heard me mention 50 yards earlier with that reticle, and the turrets are 1/4 inch adjustment per click at 50 yards. So you want to keep that in mind. Quite often you see optics that are per click at 100 yards. With the 22 Fire, it's going to be 50 yards. They are solid, audible clicks on these turrets as well. And they are a toolless return to zero or zero set, I guess, design, meaning that you can adjust this scope out, get your zero, you can lift that turret up, turn it, drop it back down to zero, and then you can quickly have your adjustment from that zero starting point every time. Now, as I said earlier, I've been putting this through the paces as far as simulating some silhouette matches. And what I did is I printed out some pig targets, typically shot at about 60 meters or so in a silhouette match, and got them on a target board. And I'll tell you, this scope, it did pretty well. Can't complain. I had way more hits on those than I had misses, so we're good to go there. I was certainly happy with it. Now, a couple things come in mind when we talk about what's better about the 22 Fire here from Tract as opposed to that Sturka or the Hawk that I've used in the past. And the first thing is the turrets. The turrets are far superior. They have that zero reset on them, much more audible click, just more tactile and easier to turn. Really, really nice turrets. And also the extended ranges on that adjustable objective. Now, typically with a 22 silhouette match, you don't get out to the 200 yards, the 300 yards, but there are long range 22 competitions that you are going to get out that far. And having the extended range on that adjustable objective is going to be super important. Now, I asked you earlier what you look for in a scope, in a magnified optic. And now I'm going to tell you one of the things that I look for, and that is clarity through the scope at maximum now, magnification. A lot of the scopes that are out there, especially budget-minded stuff, as you get closer to that maximum magnification, you start to lose sharpness, right? It gets a little bit blurry, a little bit out of focus, and no matter how much you adjust on the diopter, on the eyepiece, or maybe the objective, if that is adjustable, you just can't get that quite where you would like to see it. Can you get it usable? Sure, you can definitely get it usable, but it just doesn't hold the clarity, or I should say focus, that it does on the lower magnification. However, that's what's kind of cool about the 22 Fire here from Tract, is I can go, or I have gone max magnification, that 12 power, and then with adjusting the extended range and everything else on the objective down here, as well as the diopter, the eyepiece, I'm able to dial that sharpness right back in. And other than the magnification factor, it, as far as the clarity of what I'm seeing, looks just as good as I was all the way down on that 4 power setting. And now that you've been introduced to the Tract Optics 22 Fire 4-12 by 40 AO scope, you may be wondering, regardless of what brand scope you have, how do you do a mechanical reset on that? Just so happens, I did a video a very long time ago and an updated version on just that topic, and I'm going to drop that one here for you guys to check out next.